Argument 1. The problem of evil.
Oh, geez, no introduction, eh? Just jumping right into this mess, are we? Well, okay, but at least let me get everyone else up to speed. This is All Arguments Against God Debunked in 9 minutes. Don't know why, but it feels kind of familiar. Although it isn't the same, and funnily enough, considering they both do all arguments, you would think that both lists would entail them. But for some reason, they both contain unique ones. It's almost like they are both full of shit, both literally and metaphorically.
One of the most potent arguments against the existence of God is the problem of evil. This argument says that the presence of evil and suffering in the world is incompatible with the idea of a benevolent and omnipotent God.
You see, that already kind of shows that it's not actually a strong argument against, any God existing at all. It's an argument against your God existing. Just take the L and switch gods, man. I mean, I have many of the attributes of your standard deity. I don't care about humans. I'm petty and vindictive, and if I ever do write a book, it will be nonsensical gibberish, although that will mostly because I am very drunk. So, just worship me. Although the one characteristic I don't share with God, and it does seem to be a very important one to all you religious types, I do actually exist. So, it's a tough call.
After all, how could a loving and all-powerful God allow such pain and injustice to exist? While the existence of evil is undoubtedly a profound philosophical and theological challenge, it does not necessarily negate the existence of God.
Well, you can't be all-loving if you have the power to do something about suffering and then refuse. And you can't be all-powerful if you can't do anything like that. It's an issue with the description. Now, if you say, well, those attributes aren't actually true of God, then you're fine. Until you realize that why should I care what he does? Because he either likely doesn't give a shit about you, or he doesn't have the power to do shit to you. So that particular God is one that doesn't really make sense any way you look at it.
The concept of free will provides a compelling explanation for the presence of evil in the world. In granting humans the freedom to make choices, God allows for the possibility of both good and evil actions.
Yeah, no, you said it yourself. Existence of suffering. That's a thing that God allows to be. But suffering for the vast majority of the time has nothing to do with any concept of free will. The agony one feels when molars burst through, the sudden emergence of cancer in a young child, the simple fact that every year of life that you live, no matter the life that you have lived, is one of increasing magnitudes of pain and often confusion, with various cognitive ailments that especially target the elderly. All these things, and way fucking more, happen all the time, often despite people's best efforts to prevent them. If free will exists as you believe it to, humans have spent a not insignificant amount of it fighting suffering. The same suffering that an all-powerful God could simply remove, but doesn't. Yeah, no. Terrible rebuttal.
In fact, the only world where love is truly possible is one where there is freedom to choose. The price to be paid for that is inevitably the possibility of tragedy.
What the has that got to do with the price of fish, and stupid ones at that? Aside from the fact that while what we call love is simply a chemical reaction in the brain, although that doesn't make it any less meaningful, FYI, even if there was some kind of love particle that made love exist as a fact about the universe, who the fuck chooses who they fall in love with? That's like one of the biggest problems with love. It is largely out of people's control. People often fall in love with people that they shouldn't, because they're bad for them. People sometimes don't love people that they should, like their kids. Sometimes a stranger will fall in love, or something that they believe to be such, with you when they know nothing about you, causing all sorts of problems for you. And sometimes everyone just loves you and there's nothing you can do about it. But I didn't ask to be this amazing. I was just formed by the infinite power of whiskey this way.
Moreover, many religious traditions emphasize the idea of a divine plan or a greater purpose behind suffering, suggesting that human understanding may be limited in comprehending the complexities of God's intentions.
Well, that's just a fine excuse, isn't it? God moves in mysterious way. What a get-out-of-jail-free card. What? This literally makes zero sense no matter what way you slice it? Well, have you seen my bullshit card? Beat that. Also, imagine trying to justify so many terrible things that happened, like aforementioned child cancers and various painful diseases, as intentional, as if they are anything but suffering for suffering's sake, done by a God that loves you. Only an actual idiot could possibly believe anything so absurd.
Argument 2. The argument from unbelief.
Okay. Don't think I've heard this one before, unless you are just wording it in a weird way, so, go ahead.
Another argument against the existence of God is the prevalence of religious diversity and the existence of atheists. If God truly existed, wouldn't there be universal agreement or at least a consensus among humanity regarding the divine?
Oh, I see. And well, again, this is all about those pesky definitions you have and the things that many Christbobs will claim that happen to you if you fail to believe the patently unbelievable. If pain and suffering awaits those who don't buy your existence, and you are all loving with the ability to make anything that you want happen, then at least being really fucking obvious about your existence would seem to be important. If not, just making sure everyone believes in you in the first place. Again, this isn't about a god, it's about your god. I'm starting to see a pattern here.
The diversity of religious beliefs and the presence of atheism do not necessarily disprove the existence of God. Human beings are inherently fallible and limited in their understanding of the divine. Cultural, historical, and personal factors shape religious beliefs, leading to a plurality of faith traditions.
Okay, that's all well and good, but here's the problem. People are usually addressing when they make this point. It's less about other religions disprove God. One religion could technically be true while the others aren't. The problem arises when you realize that most atheists aside who simply don't accept the claims of others, those others are usually real confident in their beliefs. They all think they have it figured out, and that tends to start from being in a certain geographic location. Not to mention that your religion started in one tiny space that was completely unable to spread to even most of the world while humans existed in those places, and God did nothing about getting all those others to believe in him. Almost like it's actually a religion made up that spread by people and isn't just the real true guys or anything like that.
Furthermore, the existence of atheists can be seen as a testament to the autonomy of human thought and the freedom to reject religious beliefs. Just because not everyone believes in God does not mean that God does not exist.
That was just atheists existing really does prove that atheists exist. Good job, my man. I mean, this is clearly a voice bot, but hey, at least they aren't one of those, no, you actually believe in God because I say so types. At least, hopefully.
Argument 3. The argument from science. Advancements in science and our understanding of the natural world have led some to argue that God is unnecessary as an explanation for the origins of our universe.
Well, this is largely based on the fact that so many things are attributed to God. And then as we did a big science, we started to find out all those claims turned out to be garbage. And we've gotten to the point where almost none of those claims can possibly be true. So the problem for your God in particular are twofold. First, that it's said that he did this shit and he didn't. And that was clearly made up. And second, if we keep finding out where things come from, we may someday figure out the whole lot of it. And if God isn't the answer to any of them, then exactly what did he do apart from nothing? Oh, right, yeah, that.
They claim that science provides sufficient explanations for the origins and workings of the universe, rendering the notion of God unnecessary. While science has undoubtedly expanded our knowledge of the natural world, it cannot answer all questions, particularly those pertaining to metaphysical and existential concerns.
Science cannot answer things that aren't science, therefore God. Oof. But yeah, sure, there's shit that science can't answer. But again, isn't it weird how so many things in your book of true facts are nonsense? And if that God isn't real, perhaps that God isn't real. Look, I'm not down on anyone having faith in something beyond the universe, but if it's based in nonsensical texts about gods that make no sense, maybe you shouldn't do that.
A true atheist has to come to terms with the fact that his worldview requires just as much faith as that of a theistic one.
Frank Turek, is that you? The only faith that I need is that the things you have said to me sound like nonsense to me. Anything else will be things you have decided to put on me and have nothing to do with the fact that I don't buy your bullshit.
To claim that something came from nothing is just as much, if not more, than a leap of faith when compared to one who might claim that the universe originated by a creator.
Well, what do you know? You're saying something that I didn't fucking say, and that many scientifically literate atheists don't either. The claim of the vast majority of atheists I have spoken to anyway is, I don't fucking know. Oh, how much faith it takes to say that one does not know. The only real leap of faith we ever do take is that someday you people will stop fucking strawmanning us.
The scientific method is inherently limited to empirical observation and experimentation, leaving unanswered questions about the ultimate origins and purpose of the universe.
Well, the ultimate origins of the universe could very well be answered by science, it just hasn't yet. And the purpose thing? Well, that assumes there is any form of purpose beyond that which we give ourselves. And the fact of the matter is, in a universe with no purpose, there is a good chance that we will never be able to figure out that there isn't one, because there won't be a nothing for us to find in the first place.
Moreover, many prominent scientists, including Albert Einstein and Stephen Hawking, have acknowledged the possibility of a higher power or a cosmic intelligence underlying the laws of nature.
So fucking what? Most scientists acknowledge the possibilities of all sorts of shit that might not be true. That's why they do science, to figure it out. Also, those things are like 100% things that don't need to be your god, or any god that anyone has made for that matter, and could just be things that are outside of our universe but are otherwise as mundane as anything else in the universe, like boring old quasars, tedious little black holes. Really, it's no wonder people have to invent gods when the cosmos is just so uninteresting.
Science and religion need not be mutually exclusive. They can complement each other in providing a more comprehensive understanding of reality.
They could do that, but I would argue that they don't. The problem is that I don't see any religion that we currently have reflecting any sort of realistic worldview that makes sense. Now granted, I haven't seen every religion, that would be impossible, but considering that the popular ones are all shit tier, I seriously doubt someone coming up with this crap on their own is going to do much better.
Argument 4. The argument from lack of empirical evidence.
Wait, is he gonna... God doesn't exist, I hope not.
Some skeptics argue that the lack of empirical evidence for the existence of God undermines the credibility of religious belief. They contend that if God were real, there should be tangible evidence or scientific proof of his existence.
Okay, good. I thought it was going to completely contradict himself. Phew. I mean, it's not like that's ever happened before.
While it is true that the existence of God cannot be proven through empirical means in the same way as natural phenomena, such as gravity or electricity, this does not necessarily mean that God does not exist.
No, it just makes it really, really, really unlikely. Also, that he has interacted with the world becomes an even bigger problem with my book though, because that thing constantly has God interfering with human affairs, to the point where he clones himself and wanders around for a few decades and yet doesn't leave behind any physical evidence that we have been able to find and verify either. It's almost like he didn't do any of that shit.
It is important we understand the difference between evidence and proof. Evidence is data or facts that assist us in determining the reality or existence of something. A total collection of evidence can prove a claim. Proof is a conclusion that a certain fact is true or not.
That was just fucking gibberish. Proof, evidence or argument establishing a fact or the truth of a statement. Or in a layman's terms, evidence is fucking proof, you dingus. What the hell are you going on about?
While there may not be proof of God, since no one can see him or touch him,
or smell, or taste, or hear, or detect with any piece of equipment ever made ever,
we have an overwhelming amount of evidence that points to his existence.
No, you don't.
The concept of faith is central to many religious traditions, emphasizing belief in the absence of concrete evidence.
Oh hey, there's that contradiction that they don't do. What is it? Do you have evidence, or are you believing in him despite the complete lack of such? It genuinely cannot be both.
Furthermore, experiences of divine revelation, personal encounters with the transcendent, and testimonies of religious experiences provide subjective evidence for the existence of God, albeit not empirical in the scientific sense.
Ah, subjective evidence, aka things someone said happened, things someone said happened, and of course, things someone said happened. Always so convincing, especially as they have nothing to actually back it up whatsoever. So, sure, it's evidence. It's just really, really, really bad evidence.
Argument 5. The argument from divine hiddenness. Some critics argue that if God exists, he should make his presence unmistakably known to all people. The fact that God's existence is not universally recognized or experienced is seen as evidence against his existence.
The experience part is particularly telling, especially when you consider that many of these arguments don't function alone. Again, all good power boy, but doesn't bother to make himself known. Why? And to argue God mysterious ways when he didn't do fucking anything at all in those cases is, of course, as nonsensical as anything else in this video.
The concept of divine hiddenness can be understood within the framework of religious teachings that emphasize the importance of faith, humility, and spiritual seeking.
Faith being a necessary requirement for something to be of any value is so entirely worthless, especially if it functions only because of that faith. AKA, if no one believed in God, nothing would happen. The things that happen because of faith happen in spite of the fact that nothing is actually causing it.
In many religious traditions, God is believed to reveal himself to those who earnestly seek him with an open heart and mind. Furthermore, the presence of religious experiences and encounters with the divine among believers suggests that God's existence is not entirely hidden, but may require a receptive disposition to discern.
The problem with that, of course, is what they mean is really want to believe this thing and don't stop really wanting to believe it until you do. However, the issue with human psychology is that you can trick your brain into thinking it's having certain experiences that aren't actually happening when you do shit like that. I would be more inclined to believe faith that came out of fricking nowhere than this brainwashing shit.
Argument 6. The argument from divine silence. Critics often point to the perceived silence of God in the face of human suffering and prayers that seemingly go unanswered. If God were real and benevolent, why would he remain silent in the face of such anguish and despair?
Do you know what else doesn't talk back when you ask it questions? Things that don't fucking exist. I seriously don't know why God gets a pass on that one.
The silence of God does not necessarily indicate his non-existence, but may reflect deeper theological understandings of divine transcendence and human agency.
That is really going out of your way to excuse the fact that the thing you want to be there is giving you absolutely fucking nothing. A reasonable person would conclude that if they wrote and asked Santa for a race car for Christmas and then they didn't get one, that Santa doesn't exist. An unreasonable person would assume that it was because they had been too naughty for race cars.
Many religious traditions teach that God works in mysterious ways and that his timing and purposes may not align with human expectations. Moreover, the absence of immediate answers to prayers does not eliminate the possibility of eventual divine intervention or guidance.
The problem with that is that wanting something and time passing generally increases the likelihood of that thing happening. But you can also immediately excuse it not happening with that also being God's answer. So, no matter what you want, ask for thing, get thing, God did a miracle. Ask for thing, never get thing, God didn't want you to have it and is perhaps trying to teach you some lesson that he has also failed to communicate to you. Brilliant.
The belief in divine providence and the ultimate justice of God's plan offers solace and hope to believers amidst the trials of life.
Hey, that's lovely. Now just don't try and apply that shit to me and we could even be friends, if you weren't a robot, because we all know you motherfuckers are out to destroy humanity. And frankly, that's my job. And there's like 3 more questions left at least, and I am done. So maybe a part 2 if you all tell me how pretty I am.
Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel Spoonstar Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the